Ah, the Wild West. At one point or another, all of us has dreamt about what it would be like to live back in the late 1800s or possibly even earlier. Well, that's exactly what you can do in the long-awaited sequel to Red Dead Redemption, Red Dead Redemption 2. And this one takes the initial idea of the game and blows it out of the water with so much improvements, we need a full half an hour to tell you all about it. Now, unlike the first game, which followed one protagonist, John Marston, through his life in the early 1900s, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel to that story and, in fact, features John Marston and 22 other protagonists that you get to intertwine with as the story unfolds. Now, if you never played the first Red Dead Redemption, it was based in the early 1900s, 1911 to be precise, where former outlaw John Marston is taken from his family by the Bureau of Investigation and will only be granted amnesty when he brings the remaining members of his old gang to justice. Marston is escorted to the town of Armadillo and sets off to track down Bill Williamson. He confronts Williamson and his men at their stronghold, Fort Mercer, only to be shot and left for dead. A local rancher then finds him critically wounded and takes him to a ranch for recovery. Several days later, Marston begins repaying their help in the form of odd jobs around the ranch. During this time, he works with U.S. Marshals, their deputies, con artist, treasure hunter, and grave robber, and many, many more, all to find the former members of Marston's gang. Now, that was the original, and I'm not going to tell you how it played out, but you don't need to play the first one to enjoy the second. In fact, the second game is a complete prequel, so you may even want to play them backwards to get the full story in the way it plays out chronologically. Red Dead Redemption 2 starts with America becoming a land of laws. Even the West had mostly been tamed at this time. A few gangs still roamed free, but they were being hunted down and destroyed by the law. Rockstar Games, the team behind the Grand Theft Auto series and many more, bring you Red Dead Redemption 2, the biggest blockbuster Western ever to hit your video game console. You play Arthur Morgan, a member of the Dutch Vanderlyn gang. After a robbery goes badly wrong in the western town of Blackwater, your gang is forced to flee in the dead of what looks like winter, even though they say it's the middle of May, with federal agents and the best bounty hunters in the nation massing on their heels. The gang must rob, steal, and fight their way across the rugged heartland of America in order to survive. As deepening internal divisions threaten to tear the group apart, Arthur must make a choice between his own ideals and loyalty to the gang who raised him. As the story unfolds, you actually find out that Arthur Morgan grew up with John Marston, and their story is heavily intertwined. Now, in the beginning of this game, you're fleeing Blackwater with law enforcement on your heels and a horrible blizzard right in front of you. Members of your team are on the verge of death, and your character, Arthur Morgan, has gone ahead to scout for a safe place that everybody may stay warm and survive at least the night.
There! Arthur! Any luck? I found a place where we can get some shelter. Let Davy rest while he... An old mining town. Abandoned. It ain't far. Come on. Come on!
In Chapter 1, Coulter, the story starts to unfold, and you find out about the main characters of this gang and how you can start to help out with the story progression. You find an old mining town in the mountains and tell everybody to take shelter and keep warm. While everybody else sets up base camp, you find out one of the gang members died due to the cold and realize your urgent need for supplies. Arthur Morgan and the leader of the team decide to brave the weather yet again to find more supplies and possibly better shelter. Dutch sits the gang down and tells them the situation before they head off.
I don't see what other choice we have.
Listen. Listen to me, all of you, for a moment. Now, we've had, well, a bad couple of days. I loved Davy, Jenny, Sean, Mac. They may be okay. We don't know. But we lost some folks. Now, if I could throw myself in the ground in their stead, I'd do it. Gladly. But we're gonna ride out and we're gonna find some food. Everybody, we're safe now. There ain't nobody following us through a storm like this one. And by the time they get here, well, we're gonna be long gone. We've been through worse than this before. Mr. Pearson, Miss Grimshaw, I need you to turn this place into a camp. We may be here for a few days. Now, all of you, get yourselves warm. Stay strong. Stay with me.